Good afternoon, everyone. It is after 1 p.m. on Monday, August the 19th, 2024. And I'm coming before you once again with a prophetic word from the Most High. Um, in prayer this morning, He gave me a word, and I also took a few notes in the word that He gave. And I think I want to do the notes first and then get to the word. As a watchman or as one who sees, when Father God begins to speak to many of us leaders, we take a lot of things back in prayer and we release them back before the throne of Yah or into the atmosphere that God angel armies are able to take charge of those things and go out to do the work that the kingdom of heaven has called to do here on earth. And so uh, a lot of times as prophets, we may receive a word from Yah, and if we give the word, it may not be in the timing that the Most High meant it to be in, but we still yet give the word. We may be ahead of season or out of season, and it has not manifested yet. Sometimes we have the naysayers that want to call those ones that speaks beforehand false prophets. I don't think that we're false prophets. I think that we've heard the word from the Most High and we have delivered it before time. And it happens more than often. So sometimes you have to be mindful of that and know that if you believe they are a true prophet, they may be off by a year or so. Now we have more today that are false prophets, but there's a difference. You can tell those that are speaking from vain imagination or out of the flesh. It's obvious because of the content of what they're speaking about. So, nevertheless, I'm going to get into this word that Father God gave on the 19th this morning out of prayer. And I want to talk about a few things. We want to talk about the Hebrew calendar, for one, coming up in September. So we know the Hebrew calendar starts a new year between September and October. It starts the beginning of a new year, the beginning of a new cycle. We also will touch a little bit on pains of the earth and how the earth is groaning and moaning in pains of a new uh, dispensation, or the word says for the sons of God to manifest themselves. There's many different things that you could say about the earth pains for different reasons that are all under the Most High for different seasons. So we want to talk about earth pains because Father God will reference that in the word that He's given this morning. Romans 8:22 talks about the all-around observance of a pregnant creation, the difficult times of pain throughout the world. And we see a lot of that right now where we see the manifestation of earthquakes, volcanoes, mudslides, all the different horrific geophysical events that are happening. And we also see uh, the pains within the people and within us, within those around us, because of the Babylon, the systems of this world, bring in these type of things throughout the people or people groups or the body of Yah. So he talks about this as well within this word that he's going to give. And we also have talked about restoration, and he continues to speak on restoration. Because one thing Father God wants us to know, even though the earth is going through the pains and the groanings and moanings of uh, the coming to an end of this world as we know it, he also wants us to know what he's doing for the bride. So, Let's get to the word that he spoke. I want to continue because he brought me back to Isaiah 54. And I want to go down to verse 17. I'm not going to read 54 again. We read that on yesterday. But he brought me back to Isaiah 54, and I'm going to read verse 17, which we all know. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. And so I want to just read that because in that whole passage of Isaiah, what is that, 54 down at verse 7 through 17, he talks about restoration, covering his bride, bringing the things that would be needed to sustain the bride in these coming days or years ahead. And so, but let's get to the word. He says, this September will be a time of mourning for those who live by the law, those who have chosen to be joined to Babylon. For this time will yield a return on all of their sins, those things that many have put to be their God, idols of iniquity. For them is doom and gloom, as the tide of life shifts into a new cycle. So shall many feel the pains of the earth shifts. Now is the time to stand up and declare the works of the Lord, to call in all that has been given to the heathen. Now is time to rejoice in the sufferings of the saints, for now is the time for their return. I will give to all their portion of goods, as the enemy will release these before my people, a return on all that has been stolen. Keep your heart about your future. All is well. I'm moving as a lightning bolt to bring swiftly all that belongs to you. Pray for the weak in heart. Pray for the wayward, for now is the time for them to come in. I have captivated the hearts of many, and I'm moving to cause the floodgates to open for many to enter in. As I present to them a new life, a new way of living, I will show them ways to build, ways to survive. Keep your heart, keep your prayers coming up before me as always, and I will deliver all that I have set out to do. And so there's the word that Father God spoke this morning. And he is still reminding us that he is opening doors to those he has handpicked and has chosen to build. That survival is the brides, that we are all safe and secure in the years to come. He continues to remind us that. He also reminding us in this word that he is uh, causing for the enemy to pour back into our hands what the enemy has stolen, whether it's stolen from us, stolen from those that has went before us, and so on. But he's allowing us to understand that everything the enemy has stolen, he is returning. This is what he talks about, the wealth transfer. And I don't want to really get onto that because a lot of people don't understand the process of the wealth transfer. It is for building up communities. We talked about territories and how he has called us apostles, prophets, and evangelists to go in and take over, take control, seize territories, that we're able to build in that community everything that's needed for the bride of Yah to be sustained and taken care of until the coming of Yeshua. So all of these things we have talked about and we continue to talk about, and I may sound a little bit redundant, but I think that it is necessary for us to continue to understand where we are right now in the season that we're in. Yah has said we're going into a new cycle. He says as we go into this new cycle, He is causing for Babylon the Great to continue to fall. And those that are connected to Babylon under the law will also fall, will also be uh, trampled afoot in all things that they have lived to have or have made idols or made to be their God will be all torn down. This is what he's speaking of. I'm not really for sure, but I think that it is connected to this world's economy failing in September, or the great fall beginning to take place in September, where it manifests itself. We have been looking at the government hiding and propping up and padding this economy. But Father God has always said that he gave us a word about them propping up the economy. And we see that they're doing this. We see that they're not actually telling the truth, that we are in a recession. I think a great recession will start around September, October. I think that this is when they cannot hide anymore the condition of the economy. There's countries around us that are feeling the stain or the crunch of the economy failing, falling apart. China, uh, uh, Australia, just different countries right now are feeling that pull of the downward spiral of the economy. And uh, the Most High is still allowing us to understand as these things are coming down, He will begin to release even more of the wealth transfer into our hands. I had gave an example on yesterday about how the wealth transfer will happen and how many are being put in position to receive wealth in different manners, uh, in different capacities or ways, whether it be through family members leaving inheritance, through lawsuits, through uh, whatever activity where there's lump sums of money being delivered into the hands of those that God has handpicked to build. We have some, God is releasing wealth into their hands, and they're not doing what the mandate is called for right now. We're not building kingdoms unto ourselves. We're building kingdoms of communities of people to where they will be sustained. We gave the model of Joseph. We even gave the model of Solomon, and how when when the queen came to visit King Solomon, and she saw how his servants and all of those that worked, that served the table, that worked within um, the dwellings, the castle, or the dwelling place, and the whole community, and how they were well taken care of, well dressed, well um, astute, every last one in the kingdom. And so we have um, blueprints to show what building the kingdom looks like here on earth. We have it. It has happened in times past. Joseph is a really good example in how he went through the horrific things. He was in the wilderness for a season, lied on, put in prison, just all of the horrific things that happened to him. And when he came out of all of that, he was not only clothed in royalty and given the ring of a king, he also ran the whole kingdom. We saw how everyone within the kingdom was well off, well taken care of. No one had needs. This is the same thing the Father Yah is trying to do today within the earth, when He is calling and handpicking many to receive this wealth in different manners to sustain the bride in the years to come. When the Lord gave me a word in 2022, I didn't understand what He meant. He gave me a word and He spoke to me saying that you will be an influencer over many things and a conduit for the East Coast. I didn't understand what he meant at the time when he gave the word. But now that I'm understanding times and seasons, I gather what he is meaning and what he is saying, and how he has presented me in the earth for such a time as this. We have to also remember in the future there would be a great earthquake that would hit the Midwest down to through the South, and it would split the East Coast from the West. This is prophetic. It's a prophetic word he's given me, and he's also given other prophets. When this time comes, the ones that are on the East Coast will not be able to reach anything that would be on the West Coast, or and so therefore he is. I had to get my grandson's attention. He's over there asleep. So therefore, he is showing many of us how we're going to aid the East Coast, and how we'll be able to be a conduit for many during some horrific times that are coming around the world that will not be able to reach resources, whether it's food, goods, supplies, whatever that may be. So we're not looking at usual times. He talked about new lifestyles. Many of us are going into new lifestyles because we will have to build uh, communities and have goods and supplies to sustain others. So the lifestyles that we're walking into are will be new. And I gave an example of a new lifestyle, whether it's you're going into banking, where many people in the future will have a place to keep their money safe because it would be under the kingdom of Yah and not the world system. How some would buy up apartment complexes or apartment units to be able to house people that may not afford to live in other places but need to have secure housing because the kingdom of the world has fallen apart. They would need a place to live and be sustained. So he's given so many different areas where uh, these areas will have to be taken care of for such a time as now or in the future, so that we're able to sustain each and every area of concern. I keep saying the same things. I know I'm sounding a little redundant, but I think that it's important that we understand the times that we're in. It's unusual times. We are in part of the last days. Where in the last days? I'm not sure, but we're in them. How many days are in the future? I don't know, because only Father God knows that. But we're there. And what we're speaking and doing right now should be about sustaining the bride and praying and interceding for those that are not yet born again or have received salvation. That Father Yah wants to come into the kingdom. So our work is still quite heavy and severe right now. Our work is still to labor in prayer and intercede for the lost, interceding for one another, and interceding on our behalves of those of us that He's given these blueprints to. He has spoken to us and showed us how we're building and what we're going to have our hands to the plow to do. So the prayer should continuously be uh, alive and continuously pushing things into the atmosphere and charging God angel armies out over those things. We don't have time to waste into slumber. We're in the time right now where things are winding down and they're getting more chaotic. And as time goes, it's going to get even more chaotic. So it is time out for selfish prayers. It's time out for lazy prayers. It is actually time to put our hands to the plow. What is God calling us to do? How is He wanting us to use our resources? I know His plan that He's given me. I'm in the transition of waiting, for that door to open, that I actually walk into that area where I am to begin to build, that I'm the conduit for many in the years to come, when times will become very difficult about the year 2030. So the word that he gave today was a needed word. It's a reminder. It is also a way for us to understand that he has us in the palm of his hand, that he is still yet protecting and giving us key things to do and to store and to build. He is still yet speaking to the prophets, having us to release things, speak things. So we have to be mindful that we're in some times right now where he is not done. He is still working for us, working on our behalf, and calling in the lost. Still yet calling in the lost. So this is the word I have for this Monday, and I'm just praying that you guys have a great Monday. Until the next video, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for tuning in.